Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is Wander to the Edge. My name is Adam Asher from The Edge of Adventure.
I'm Zan from Where Gals Wander.
And Zan, you have a wonderful new hair color.
I
Tell us about this.
do. Look at this. I went red. I've been
It looks
blonde
great.
for 20 years and I went red. Yeah.
It looks great. So you said you actually you used this hair color previously, or you?
I did. Yeah. Back when I was in my 20s, it was a little more purpley red, but it was red.
I can see
Actually,
that.
I take that back. I went red when I was 16 in high school and then went more purple in my 20s. Yeah.
You went purple, and it went something like this. You guys cannot tell me what to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty
Well,
much.
hey, listen. Of course, last week we talked about the store where galswander.com is the one-stop shop for everything Where Gals Wander, including the brand new store. I think you were telling me offline that you had great response.
I did. I actually sold out of a couple items just the opening weekend, but got restocked. They just came in yesterday. The Joshua Tree beanies, like big hit. They're super cute. I have to admit that I also got one for myself as well as the sweatshirt.
Okay, what does
So
the sweatshirt? What does it say?
it says Adventurous Soul.
Okay.
So yeah, and it's super comfy. You know, it's fall. It's super comfy. Fall colors. Gotta go with it.
Well,
So
congrats on getting that thing
thank you.
launched, and a big thanks to everybody who has already shown their support of Where Gals Wander and the brand new store. So if you haven't done that already, just shameless plug, you need to go do that. Support Zan and support adventure. Okay, let's talk adventure, because one of the things we think about when we talk travel, we get our friends on the show and they have their adventures, and sometimes they have amazing adventures and amazing updates that we have them back on the show to tell us about a particular trip. And I think that's what we've got going on today.
We do. We do. We welcome back Amber Burke from Wine Travel Eats. And I had a chance to actually meet Amber in person up in Fairfield, and we had a glass of wine. And I asked her, I said, I thought that you went on this trip with your mom cross country, but I didn't really hear from you on social media. And when she filled me in, I said, oh my gosh, you have to share this story. So stay tuned right here on Wander to the Edge. Hey, Amber.
Hi, thank you for having me this morning.
Great to have you on the show. Amber, I don't remember exactly the date or the time frame when you were on the first time, but it was in the very early days of Wander to the Edge. It was last year. I think it's probably been a year plus. We've been
Mhm.
at this for quite a while, but we did want to have you back on the show because
Thanks.
you're an awesome friend. You are an awesome traveler. And of course, because I've heard a rumor that you have had an amazing trip, and we're going to dig into some of those details. I've got the pictures that you sent. We'll be sharing some of those.
Okay.
And anyway, just welcome back to the show.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
So, Amber, last
Yes.
time that we had you on, we talked about Wine Travel Eats, and we talked about the finer things when it comes to food and pairing food with wine. And you took us through a class actually about different types of wine and how to properly experience that, and wonderful, um, luxurious side of travel. And then I hear that you're in an RV.
That is a very true rumor. I did it. I bit the bullet. I was in a position where I needed to take my mom across country, and we were in the middle of COVID. And the only safe way I felt like I could do it was by RV.
Okay.
So
So let's talk about kind of your mom for a moment. So your
mhm.
mom lives with you.
She does. My mom lives with me. She's 80 years old. She's this little spitfire, let me just tell you. Personality plus, plus, plus. And the reason that we decided that we needed to go on this road trip was because I had two aunts, one that lives in Boston and she's suffering from Alzheimer's. And we were really concerned that we weren't going to get to see her before she forgot who we were. And so that was super important to both of us to do that. And then I had another aunt that lived in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, that was dying of cancer. So between the two, we wanted to see them before it was too late. You can't get that time back. And so I had to come up with a plan to do it as safely and sanely as possible. But guess what? The sane part did not happen on this trip. It was a whole lot of not sane stuff happening.
Okay, not sane stuff. Now you've already alluded to the fact that your mom is a Spitfire, right? So what's it
Yes.
like making this trip with your mom?
So, it was really tough all the way around doing this trip. I had never, let's just put it this way. My husband and I are luxury travelers, and I had never even really been in an RV. And so here we are buying an RV, and there were no RVs to be had because everybody else was buying them. And so all the research and something that I could do for myself and be my very first RV, I had just no experience with any of that. So that was step number one. And I ended up buying a 20-year-old, believe it or not, RV, which had very, very low miles. And one of the things that attracted me was it was small. I could handle it myself. And the gas mileage was incredible. I was getting 18 to 20 miles a gallon on my little RV. So that was really important to me doing this big pandemic road trip for months, that I was going to be able to manage all of it.
So give us an idea, how long was this road trip and where did you go? Like destination issue. Yeah.
Right. So it was about a little over 2 months, and we went from California and we drove up around like Montana, through Utah, up around Montana, and then we over to Wisconsin, and then down to Chicago. I have family in Wisconsin. I have family in Chicago, and then from Chicago over to Boston, and then completely down along the eastern seaboard, and then moved over. We went to the Carolinas, and then we went over and back through Arkansas, and from Arkansas we went down through Oklahoma, and then down to New Mexico. And from New Mexico, we did all of the national parks of Utah, and coming down to Arizona and Vegas area, and then back to LA, and then up back home. That was our trip. It was insane.
Amber, I actually go ahead.
A few of the things that people don't know. So just imagine luxury traveler, and never having been in an RV, didn't know anything about RV, experiencing what an RV really is, and going to an RV park to camp. That was one of the biggest eye openers of this. Is I'm imagining in my head, right, beautiful nature all around with the little stream and all this stuff. No, you go and you get put on a pad, literally a concrete pad, next to 10 other people that are on concrete pads, and you plug your RV into this little pole that comes up, and that's your camping experience. Like and it's the same amount of money as a hotel. So that lasted 2 nights, and I'm like, I can have a hot shower. I'm not hearing anybody. I'm going to go to a hotel. Thanks. That was mistake number one, not understanding what it was all about.
Well, Amber, you were mentioning all the different parts of the country that you got to see, and I think that's amazing. Hopefully that was it seems like that was one of the highlights, is just getting to see the country. And, we've got some pictures here we'll be sharing momentarily, but I actually have family in Oklahoma, and in my travels out there, to be there and be with them and see them, I have learned that, as it relates to Oklahoma, some people think it's great, some people think it's not that great, but most people think it's just okay.
Yeah, well, my adventure in Oklahoma, and I don't know how I should tell this story, if I should give you the whole scenario of all the things that happened on our journey, but Oklahoma has a very special place in my heart from this journey. So should we talk about it now, or should we talk about it moving
I
forward?
think now that I don't know the story, so I may regret saying this, but yes, you need to tell us.
Okay, so a once in a lifetime ice storm happens while we're on the road. The ice storm was so bad, you can't even imagine what we were driving through. Buses, RVs, trucks, trailers, everything, every 2 feet, they were smashed into smithereens. It was so dramatic and insane. The ice came so fast and so hard. And here I am in this RV. Remember, this is my first RV. And although I had been driving for, a month and a half by this point, that was a lot to manage. It was absolutely crazy. The amount of destruction, and you couldn't get off the freeway because all of the exits were completely snowed in. And in fact, my windshield wiper on the driver's side broke in the middle of all of this.
Oh my
So
gosh.
my passenger was there. She's looking and she's like, "You're okay. You're okay." We're screaming at every minute because we're just about to wipe out. I mean, it was like constant for 2 days. And then when we finally got to stop at night, our whole RV, the wheels froze to the cement. And so I had to chip out the entire RV so that we could get out and back on the road. So this was just one of our many, many fun times. So imagine driving along. That is what you're looking at. Okay. Unfortunately, I was driving and it was absolutely insane. But the whole video should have showed you. I guess I sent you the wrong one, of how bad it was, and the devastation and the amount of cars that were done. And anybody who was in the 2020 storm in Oklahoma will tell you it was absolutely insane. Trees broke. Just snapped. Big, huge trees. The ice was just so incredible. Yeah.
Amber, at that point, did you consider turning around and going home?
Well, that's the whole thing, is by that point we had done 3/4 of the way, but there were so many other times where I wanted to turn back and go home, and didn't. So let me go back to the beginning of our trip. So I already told you that the reason we had a specific reason that we wanted to go on this pandemic road trip. But when we left, it was in the middle of all the California fires. So there was smoke all the way. We could not see anything. And I mean zero. It was like the worst fog you can imagine, all the way till we hit Wisconsin. So imagine driving days and days and days in such smoke and haze that you couldn't even see any of the landscape. So because of that, and of course my mom has health issues, so I didn't want her breathing that air. So we're, keeping the air uncirculated in the RV, and I'm not really letting her out. And so she's sitting there, and we're not eating in restaurants. So our only choice, because many places don't mask, our only choice my mom felt comfortable was eating McDonald's, because McDonald's had a policy where everybody had to be masked. So for days and days and days, I ate McDonald's 3 meals a day.
So Amber,
That's
what What wine pairs well with McDonald's?
$2 Chuck. $2 Chuck is your perfect pairing with McDonald's.
Uh, I can't help but think that there are so many people that want to go on this cross-country road trip and see the beautiful scenery, and yet you are basically only seeing smoke and fog and ice. She frozen.
Yeah, I think
And
she's back to thinking about Oklahoma
Yeah.
being okay. Okay, here she is. Amber, welcome back.
sorry.
And
Thanks. Go ahead.
oh no, we were just admiring your choice of wines and fine dining.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it's great to have you back.
So
We're glad that we didn't lose you there. Amber, of course we can tell by listening to you talk and the sort of the joy and the smile in your voice as you relate these stories. What would be another unbelievable story that made up this cross country adventure for you and your mom?
well, my mom actually came back missing a finger from this trip. I am not even kidding. So what happened was we were in a car accident and we were on the way to visit a friend who was creating this amazing dinner paired with beautiful wines and everything. And as we were driving to his home, we were on the freeway and my mom needed to get up and she wanted to go to the bathroom or something. She needed to get something. And she stood up and just then I got cut off. So I slammed on the brakes and my poor mom went forward and then backwards and then forwards. So she grabbed on to the kitchen island in the RV. And when the force pulled her forward, it literally pulled her finger off. So yeah. Yes. So I wanted to leave right then and there, send her on a plane and go home and call this good.
And
But the doctor
Amber,
told me,
would you recommend RV travel? I don't know that I don't think you're in a position to endorse this.
well, at the end of the day, we had some beautiful experiences. Yes, we had challenges, but we had some wonderful, wonderful experiences and got to see some of the most beautiful parts of our country. At the end, after we visited my dying aunt in Truth or Consequences, the trip really just started then. And we were able to see Carlsbad Caverns, which were amazing. And we were able to see some of the national parks, which were just awe-inspiring and breathtaking. And, that finally, there's my little RV, and that's us at Bryce Canyon. And, and experiencing some of nature's beauty, which is the whole reason that we wanted the RV in the first place, is to be able to see some of the stuff, because I had never seen it. I have traveled all over the world and I have hardly seen the United States. So this was at the end, we finished as champs pretty much, and got to see some beautiful things.
What was one place that you visited that just particularly resonated with you?
Gosh, I mean, Zion was so incredibly beautiful, as was Bryce Canyon. I love those, but I have come to love the Carolinas to the point that I'm actually considering buying a home there. I have wonderful friends and family that live there, and the natural beauty. I just have always been a California girl, so I just never considered, anywhere else, obviously, other than England. But those places really, really just sang to my heart.
I want to talk about the Carolinas just again for a moment, because I think you have a pretty special story to share about some of the family that you met in the Carolinas.
Yeah. Well, I found out when I was 40 that I had an older sister and an older brother. and my sister lives in North Carolina. And this was somebody that I had no knowledge of before this. And we met, and so I have been going to visit her quite a bit, and we have found that we are just, the perfect sisters, and she's just a wonderful, wonderful person. But I was on this road trip with my mom, and her mother lives very close to her. And so we were introducing these two mothers that had every reason to hate each other. But they were both wonderful, loving women, and they got together and found that they really enjoyed one another's company, and they had so much in common. And that was truly special to bring that. It could have gone horribly wrong, but that was one of the highlights of these two women being able to share and like one another. My dad, for a little bit of a background, was one of these people that believed in bigamy, and he ran around marrying all these women and didn't bother divorcing them, and none of them knew about each other. So that's how I got this sister. And so it was a very special time for my family, and a lot of healing was able to happen. So that was a great part of the trip.
Amber, I think, as I listen to your story and the decisions you made to get this RV, set out on this adventure, spend the time with your mom, go to see your aunts, the discovery of your sister, speak to the importance of family and maybe making the choices you have to make, putting other things on hold or whatever the discomfort of those changes in your life might be in order to spend some time with family. How important is it?
It's so important. With COVID and everything, my mom had just moved in with us before COVID really got moving. And so she's been stuck in the house. She has been stuck in the house for 2 years. She's immune compromised, and we have been very strict about not going out and not doing much. So it was important for me not only to get her out of the house, but to spend time while I still have it. Well, she still has the health to do these things. She and I have taken a few trips together. We went on an adventure to Egypt. We've done all of these things. And, I will never get this time back with my mom. I don't want any regrets. I will never get this time back with my aunts. My aunt, in Truth or Consequences, has since died. And I'm so grateful that I had that opportunity to give her one last hug and to give her some comfort by bringing her my mom, and them being able to say their goodbyes and do it in a dignified, peaceful way. It was really important.
We talk so much about, on the show particularly, about travel and what it means to us. And this trip, I think, just has so much special meaning. I mean, one, just for all the things that you survived, and two, all the things that truly meant something to you, right? About the family.
Yes.
And to Adam's point. I'm curious, Amber, what did you learn about yourself on this trip?
Well, a couple things. Really interesting things is that, how capable I am in any situation. I mean, I had never driven in an ice storm before. I had never, done so many things. And yet, basically, I was a solo responsible traveler because my mom is not able to help me. And going through all of these things, finally, at the end of the trip, a friend of mine, Lisa, who has this wonderful hippie spirit to her, she took some of the trip with us and really helped. Her energy, her calming really helped out. But I think the most thing that I learned is that I actually enjoy driving. As far as being a road trip, if I do another road trip, it probably would not be in an RV. It would be in my own car. But you see so much of the world when you're not in an airplane. And I really enjoy, I found that I enjoy the peacefulness and the rhythm of driving.
And all jokes aside, regarding
Hmm.
your experience with an RV, and you just said it. You would probably just like being in your own vehicle without the RV. But joking aside, tips for RV travel. Honestly, somebody who got into it like you, who didn't necessarily know what you sounded awesome, and then you
It
didn't
sounded
exactly know what
awesome.
you were getting yourself into. But two or three of the lessons you learned that would be valuable for someone who wanted to give that a try and make a success out of it.
Well, a couple things that I did was I did a lot of research beforehand, and I had with me a lot of emergency equipment. I had a full, um, I had a full medical kit with me, which became invaluable. I have a lot of medical background, so that became invaluable. Having things, making sure that you have things that if you break down somewhere, there's a lot of a road where there is no help. That's something that I would tell people. Also, my experience in the RV parks, it's not what you're expecting for the most part, because you're not really camping. So if you're going to camp in an RV and you want that beautiful nature, then you need to have a fully contained RV that has a way to have a generator right now, and those are super loud, by the way. When you have your generator on for air conditioning and lights and stuff, they're really loud in the RV. So you might want to think about solar paneling on your RV so that you can be fully self-contained. Those are some of the best tips. Also, taking a class where you learn how to properly dump your waste and those kinds of things. I had to do trial and error. Thank God I had tons and tons of gloves with me because it splatters everywhere. People know that too. And those are some of the best tips I have. Watch a lot of YouTube videos. Make a good plan. Have good emergency plans. Take water and hiking shoes and blankets and things that are going to help you survive if the worst happens. And thank God, I was very prepared for everything as much as I could be.
I'm still just marveling at going from luxury travel to the RV.
And also, I was just going to say that that's great advice about having the kit in case there's a breakdown. Like think that through. I mean, it's kind of a shame these guys didn't have that same preparation. They
Right?
could have
That
used.
they could have totally used a kit or an SOS or something, but the American government, we just went and scooped them up and the legend was born. Roswell is such a fun place. I was there on Halloween last year and watching, and even though it was a pandemic, you saw the little kids in their masked costumes, masked over masks. It was adorable, and Roswell is such a kitschy, fun place to travel to. And I would have never done that had I not been on this road trip.
Is there anything that you saw on the road trip that just really made you, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of marvel at the country that we live in?
Oh my gosh, so many things. My background is I lived in England for 20 years. And so I'm so used to Europeans telling me that America has no architecture. And honestly, some of the most beautiful architecture have made me so proud traveling this country and seeing these beautiful cities and even the plantation house that was in South Carolina that we're looking at right now. Just seeing the history and the beauty and and learning lessons from going to these places that don't have a glorious background, and understanding bringing that history to life was really inspirational to me. Also, the national parks, we cannot even appreciate from the photos how wonderful our national park system is and how blessed we are to live in this beautiful country. That was this picture was in a bed and breakfast in New Hampshire on Lake Winnipesaukee. And my husband and I, it was our 19th wedding anniversary. And when we were getting married, we stayed in this very same place. And so my husband flew out and we stayed there during my pandemic road trip. 19 years later.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's Boston. I mean, who doesn't love Boston? Beautiful, beautiful city. The rivers, the beauty. Love Boston.
And of course, those of you who are watching or listening and getting to know Amber, hopefully you've had a chance also to listen to the previous interview we did, which you can look up on YouTube. You'll find it on our YouTube page. You'll also find it on Spotify. But her name is Amber Burke, and you can look her platform, look up her platform at winetraveleats.com, winetraveleats.com. And I'm curious, did you get much chance, Amber, to blog or do any contributing to Wine Travel Eats? And if so, what would be a highlight someone should look up?
I really didn't. The trip had so many disasters. My mom ended up in the ER several times while we were on our trip, and just complete craziness. And that pressure, my aunt in Truth or Consequences, was going downhill fast. So that pressure to get to her before it was too late was there. And so I just didn't have it in me with all of the, first of all, there was nothing to take photos of all the way till we got to Wisconsin. That's number one. And then, from there, it was hospital visit, trying to get to my first aunt in Boston because she was worrying about us being on the road. So there really wasn't that chance. And then during the pandemic, I kind of felt like I didn't really want to be telling people, hey, get out on the road during the pandemic. A lot of places weren't open. We couldn't see Niagara Falls. They weren't open. I mean, there was a lot that was closed during that trip, so that we just couldn't. There was no fine dining. I didn't even get a relief with going and being able to, order myself a wonderful glass of wine at the end of the day, because there wasn't that opportunity to do that.
What's your favorite meal from McDonald's now?
Oh, it's the filet of fish sandwich. I ate a filet of fish sandwich, and I ate in the morning an egg McMuffin. That was my meals for several weeks until I got to family and could actually eat a decent proper meal. Yep. Yeah.
Well, I say that in jest, but I do want to take a couple minutes and just talk about what you're up to now. And, kind of share with us your latest project.
So I just got back from going on a 3-week vacation to North Carolina and South Carolina. And obviously, my main business is wine and food. And so one of the things that I have done is step forward, and I'm representing Sassoon Valley, where I live. And it's a wonderful small wine producer. We're right outside of Napa. People don't know that we're here. And so I've been bringing people like yourself to come visit and showing them around and helping them to experience the wine and some of the wonderful things that are local to me. It's been a really wonderful passion project of mine to bring my colleagues here and to show them just how beautiful it is where we live and what wonderful wines we're producing and all of the cool little businesses around. I mean, come on, was the olive oil tasting the most wonderful experience ever?
So it really was. And Amber took us to this olive oil vineyard, and we did a olive oil tasting, which sounds really odd, but the pairing with different, like one was with a cherry tomato out of her garden in the back, and over ice cream we had a like what's the word I'm looking for? Help me. Balsamic.
Gelato. Oh,
Yes, thank you.
balsamic reduction. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes, over
Yeah.
gelato. It was amazing. And I mean, just what a beautiful country that Fairfield is. I mean, Napa is very nice and it's very picturesque, but it is kind of touristy, right? And Fairfield, I think you just really get a sense of what wine country is all about.
That's right. And we have these small mom and pop producers. We're not talking big corporations here. Camus did move in, but they are taking the low approach here and supporting the other businesses, which is wonderful. And they're showing us with their expertise. But for the most part of small business owners, and it's just so beautiful to see how it's blooming and flourishing, and the wines that we're producing, honestly, I'm very proud of them. And that's hard for me to say. For many years I couldn't say that, and now some of the wines are just absolutely phenomenal. So I'm very proud to be representing where I live.
Well, Amber, it's been great to have you on the show. When are you and Zan going on another crazy adventure?
You know what? We totally have talked about that, and we want to do that. And maybe before I sell my RV, we'll do that. Maybe I'll drive down and we'll try this fun girls trip.
Zan has been telling me she wants to drive an RV. I'm just throwing that out there.
It's true.
Okay.
It's true.
She's not that far away from me. I can make that happen.
Yeah.
She's also
Maybe we
been
should
bragging
go
about
somewhere
her
like
ability to parallel park.
Yeah, I can't parallel park. That's the only thing.
Okay. Well, the one thing about my little RV is that it had the most wonderful backup camera, and you could see everything. So made parking a lot easier. And it's a small RV, only 21 foot. So
Okay.
It was easier. It's same as parking a truck, basically. So yeah, I would love to do that.
A whole nother point. I don't like the backup cameras. Now, not having tried that with the RVs, but when I'm in my regular truck and it has the backup camera, I'm old school. I mean, this is what happens. I guess we get old, but I have to turn around and look backward like that. I can back up, I can parallel park, I can do all that, but I have to be. If you make me look at the camera, it doesn't seem right. Anyway, I just thought I would throw that out there, and that way Zan can use that against me in the future.
Yeah, totally.
Well, Adam, I have to tell you that now with technology, they have the 360 cameras, and I can't even tell you, that is my favorite gadget. You can see all below your car, all the way around, 360 degrees. So if there's anything, like small bollards where you couldn't see that before, that's all, and off to the side, not just the backup camera, but on the sides and in the front as well. It's such a wonderful thing. And it's a good use of technology in my opinion.
Well, and I will say the one good thing about the backup cameras is that way you can make sure there's nothing back there. Not, you check real quick. There's nothing back there. There's not a person back there, just to be sure that you're not missing something. But in terms of backing up and navigating, and
I'm with
I'd rather just look backward.
I do the same thing, but the camera is a good tool. So.
Well, listen, Amber, great to have you on the show. Great to have you, back to hear about these adventures. You have such a great outlook and a great perspective. I know that there was a lot about that trip that was awesome. There was a lot about that trip that was very difficult and not great, but in your typical fashion, just this is, I guess, your outlook on life. But you look back on it as an overall win, as a great experience, and you got to do so many wonderful things. And it's important. I think a lesson we can take from that too. I mean, the journey isn't perfect. It never is. It never is. But you had a great time and you did some very important things. And to get to share that today has really been cool.
Well, just one thing before I leave, and that I want to leave your viewers with, is that it really isn't what happens to you in life. It's how you handle it. And we handled it really in a strong way in the end. And we finished our trip and we had a lot of laughs, and, you know, there were some tears. I'm not going to lie, but that makes for the story, doesn't it? And now I'm here and being interviewed by you guys.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Amber. It was so good to see you. And if maybe we go on this road trip, maybe we'll be telling the stories right here one day on Wander to the Edge.